Welcome to Black in a Box. The world is told by black faces in white spaces. Good to see you all again.
How are we all doing?
When you point the finger, you two, there's three fingers pointing back at each ear, and that's not what you want. Okay? So let's.
I'm just telling her. She's got it.
Okay.
I do got it. You too, bud.
How was your journey in today, Alana?
Are we going to start with crash outs?
We here?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
you're
my
dressed for
God. Just, okay. This wasn't actually my idea, but I fully seconded this. So I think, Angelo, was it your idea to talk about just like shit in London that is going to make you have a nervous breakdown one day and crash out?
That's not how I worded it. But
I threw this to you to just make it seem as natural as possible, and now you set up as a whole thing.
No, because
Sorry, but I
Therapy
actually have a lot to say on this.
So for those who are not aware, the crash out has become, it probably will be word of the year.
Yeah.
I think it's coming to common parlance as someone that you're willing to literally to just crash out and go to prison for what you've done.
Yeah.
Really mess your life up.
Yeah. It's a level up from my fell out.
Exactly. You crashed out.
Yeah.
TFL edition.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is my gripe with London. My main gripe with London is that nothing fucking works the way that it's supposed to. Specifically, no, not nothing. Specifically when we're talking about travel. I take one bus from my place of home to where I work. Tell me why it's never been the same route. It's the same bus, but it never goes down the same streets more than like 3 months. Why? Because there's diversions you didn't even know about until you were waiting for the bus and the bus stop was closed. And then you open Google Maps, you open TFL, you open City Mapper. They don't even know that there's a diversion. And then there's maybe 3 diversions. So then it's like, okay, then you get used to that first diversion. It's like, fine, okay, whatever. Then there you have to deal with the people that are on public transport.
Can I, before you go into the people,
Okay.
where are you from?
California?
And how much did you pay for that bus trip?
It doesn't matter.
And did you get from A to B?
I would rather have a shitty car and pay insurance
Environment wouldn't
and
know, would
be
it?
in control of myself, except for just the traffic.
Sitting that for 3 hours in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would rather do that
Spoken
in
like
my
a real
own
American.
space.
You see, coming over here, judging our public transport,
Yeah, absolutely.
our socialism, get out of here.
How long would it take for you to cycle that journey?
I dare not. I dare not cycle into central London. With all those
Sounds like you
diversions and all
probably-
the construction, absolutely not.
there's those guys that have gone viral on TikTok who just they just run the route. They just take the buses on. You're the fittest person I know. Just
I wouldn't
take on the
mind
bus.
running. I wouldn't mind running, but yeah, it's not that. It's when things are supposed to work in a certain way and then they don't. And I find that happens a lot. Or very common sense things that I think are maybe quick fixes. So for instance, another thing is if you're like, so walking here, back to how I got here. I'm walking here, there's a bus diversion. Cool. I knew that. Let me be 30 minutes early, right? To this recording. That bus diversion, a bus stop's closed. Okay, fine. I gotta go one more bus stop over. That's fine. Then Google Maps, because we're surrounded by tall buildings, doesn't know which direction I'm facing, doesn't give me the right thing. So then I'm like, all right, I might fall out, but I'm not gonna crash out. It's fine. Then, because I'm using so much energy on my phone to get here on time, and there's buildings and it doesn't have service, then my phone starts to die. That's how I crash out.
Tell you what I'm hearing here.
That's
There's a lot of you problems.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be giving me a problem when I crash out.
Can you read a map?
Then the other thing is that on a map in London, sometimes there's street signs.
Yeah.
on a street, an alleyway, a pathway. Sometimes there's not. So one street might be really close to another street, and you're like, is it that street or is it this street? Don't know, because there's no signage. Anyway,
What did we used to do?
I just want a grid system.
You see, you just try.
I just want a grid
Americanise this place
system,
again.
and I want
It
public
works
transport
fine.
that works, and I just want communication.
What's your beef with the people?
So let's just whoa. If we let's call this. We're going to call this Room 100. That's what we're going to call this for copyright reasons. So you are going to put in diversions in Room 100, and like the other stuff about phones and all that, I don't know what that is. But let's screw it under diversions.
Nonsense, that's what
Yeah.
we did.
It's not the diversions. It's the lack of communication between the different
Yeah.
entities.
got
It's
you.
poor city management, traffic management.
I
Poor
got-
traffic management. That's what I don't like.
Okay. The people.
This is a me problem.
Do you see how the
the people is a me problem.
I'm the people.
Yeah, no. But I get irritated by the fact that there just are people. So first, I'm already crashing. I'm already on edge because of the poor traffic management. Then every bus after a long day of work, it might be an empty bus. I go to the front of the bus, which has it's a double decker. So it's got the nice windows, whatever. I'm like, okay, let me just chill. Tell me why every time the only other person on the bus gets on, sits right next to me on their speakerphone, yelling the whole way. And I'm like, fucking just every time. Just why?
Oh, I find shit like that
Why?
hilarious. I'm sorry, I really do.
Why?
I genuinely, I can be in that situation and I start laughing to myself because I'm like, this is just jackass, isn't it?
I just,
People cannot be that inconsiderate, really.
but it's every bus ride, and it's a different person every time.
Oh God. The one thing
Every
that
time.
I also laugh at because it's that mad on public transport is, and I do have a little bit of empathy because I'm not in that position and I will never be in that position, I don't think. But singular parents with a bag of unruly pick-me with the gentle parenting.
Oh no.
When you go, we had this yesterday, we're on the bus and there's a mother, about 27 kids, and one of them is probably about 2, maybe 3 years old. But you know how there's a certain brand of parent who will let their child stand on the chair that we've all got to share, and how there's an old man sat next to him and he's accidentally kicking the old man, and she just,
Oh yeah.
no, Fabian, don't kick the old man.
Not
No,
Fabian.
don't do that. You're gonna fall off.
Wagga sit on.
You shit your. This is what it should be like.
Yeah.
I don't care about that gentle parenting in
Yeah,
public.
you gotta snatch the
You
kid up at that point.
are doing your children a disservice. You are. Because you need to tell the children before you know that the auntie's going to come on the bus and say, sit down now, man. Because it's going to happen.
They get home my dead jagger dead.
It happened yesterday. There was another bunch of unruly kids and the mother was speaking in Arabic to them, and then her auntie gets on the bus and she starts speaking to the rest of the kids, and she don't know these kids. Every single child shut the fuck up very quickly.
See, this is the thing that redeems the people.
This is
within
it.
the
This
bus.
is
yeah,
it.
because I
This-
love seeing that.
Honestly, the community really comes into its own. But those singular, whatless parents, I can't deal with it, man. Remember that your children are being raised with part of this whole society. Don't let them just do that kind of nonsense in public, man. I don't care how hard your day's been. Just until you get home, keep it together.
Yeah, yeah.
Gentle parenting on public transport in Room 100.
Yes, gentle, but inconsiderate to others. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I'm bougie. I get that. Like,
You see the hairline.
I was about to say,
where I live, the train's last stop is Shepperton. Like, it's bougie.
he's got deer.
This is a thing that happened, and I'm by the grace of God not in jail. Man is sitting there with his dog. The dog shits
Where?
on the train. As we're pulling into a station, the man gets up with the dog
Yep.
and walks off the train.
I know he did. I knew he would.
And
They say, no, Fabian, don't do that.
and I'm sitting there, and the thing is, my watch tells me what my heart rate is, and my heart rate jumped about 30 beats per minute, and I start sounding like a crazy person because I start doing the nah. I'm walking down, because obviously I'm walking away from the dog shit. I'm like, nah. So there's just me, 6'6", walking down this train, going, nah, this is out of, he's taking the piss. One person goes, like, I don't know why, goes, what's wrong? No, the dog shit on the carriage. I'm not having it. To the point, in my head, I was like, I'm getting off at the next station, getting the train back to the station where he got. I'm not gonna be able to find him. But I was like, I was flabbergasted. I've never had a reason to use that term before. But I was like, this is what flabbergasted must mean. Because how are you letting a dog shits? I get it, and it's your station, bruv. You gotta go one extra station. You gotta use the plastic hand scoop shit. You got to clean that shit up because it was in the 4-person carriage as well, which is the most popular seat to sit in. He's shit, and then he's left, and there's me just walking down the train, fully crashed out. By the way, just talking to myself like a madman. Who then goes, "You got any change?" Like just kind of like just be mad and then ask. But people that don't. How are you letting your dog shit on a train?
You could be on the train that goes through York on the way to Newcastle. If your dog shits at York and you're getting out of York,
you got to go to Newcastle. You've got to.
You have to go to Newcastle.
You're at least going to Darlington.
100%. There's no chance. No chance.
If you've got a dog, everyone I know who has a dog, the bags are usually on the thing on the lead. So the bags are always to hand, and they do it every day, so it takes less than 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. So my pushback to you though is, why are you doing all this now? Like, you watch the dog is taking a shit in the bit, and you're sat there and you just watch this happen. You watch the man get off, and then everyone else has got to put up with you. Your behaviour perfectly brings me on to what annoys me.
Tutters.
People that no one does anything.
Yeah, exactly.
No one does anything. No one backs anything.
Yeah.
No one I'm like, you could, in most situations, you can collectively overpower. Mob rule has gone. And you were in a situation there on the train to Shepperton, so I'm sorry if you want the baddest
bag
man.
full of pussy on that.
Yeah. And you just let this dog foul on the train.
You know, it was a nice dog as well, isn't it? That's a golden retriever.
And then the guy get off you let him get off the train, and then everyone else has to deal with your nonsense. So I'm sorry, you to me are the worst part of that, because you let it happen, and then you're kicking off, and now you're on a podcast talking about it weeks later. You were talking like weeks later on a podcast where you said
Twitter in real life.
you kept mum, you kept mum at the moment. I bet you. In fact, I've not even looked on your TikTok. I bet that's full of it as well, isn't it?
Remember Paul Oliver?
Yeah.
When he's got the sketches where he's got someone doesn't put their weights back in the gym and then he's Batman.
Yeah.
Right. This is what you should have been. When he goes to open the door, you just stand there and press the close door button. You ain't getting off the train, big man.
Allow me to retort. Allow me, Dan, an opportunity to defend myself.
Or just say, you know what? I've been wrong.
This is wild. Because when the dog... No,
because what happened was...
That's the biggest crash out of the day.
Remember that fat kid?
Yeah.
The one that's like, what happened was shit.
Because it all happened so quickly. The train is pulling into the station. The dog shits. And the bit that winds me up is that me and the man did share a look. We shared the look where it's like, you're gonna clean the dog shit up, all right? And then he made, you know how like Homer like just backs back into the fence. That's the way the guy just kind of got up. He didn't move his arm. He just got up and walks off, and the dog walked off with him. And I was just like, I think I was in shock. I actually think I was in shock because I didn't immediately start going nah. Like I waited until the train started moving again because I was like, surely he's like going off to get the back. Like, nah, I'm not the villain in this situation.
You're a villain.
Nah, bro. If Batman comes in and breaks that man's legs, he's not doing anything to me. He's not doing anything to me. I'm just a citizen of Gotham who
We're shook.
don't let your dog shit on the train. Surely, I can't believe the message you got from that is I, with my 6'6", big for a land mammal ass, should have kind of made big noise on a train to Shepperton and not don't let the man
I
shit.
think every single person on that train would have been Team Angelo in that situation.
I
The
don't know,
police would
man.
have showed up and been Team Angelo in that
All I'd
situation.
say is like you are not gonna let your dog just shit there. Like that's all you got to say.
No,
like,
exactly.
Like you would have had to say it once.
Yeah.
And then you've put the onus on him.
But if it
no one knew what happened.
No, but if
We're only hearing about this now if they listen to the podcast and they connect this. And they're
No,
like,
but
oh,
if
yeah,
it had
that-
happened like as it pulled out of a station, that's different. Because I'm
But-
like,
but-
hey, yo.
but
But it was pulled. It was.
But my
pulling
issue
in.
with this is you're now finding excuses for him. You've come down on his side of the equation by talking about how the proximity and the doors were
Dan,
open. He had to go to his car.
You're the villain.
How much you weigh?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm big for a land mammal.
Right. The second he's stepping off that carriage, you could grab him in midair
Or the dog.
and no, not the dog. Leave the dog out of this. Just yank that.
I just-
fucker back in
I
there.
just
Make sure
like,
honestly.
look, we can't. This public apathy has to stop.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so
the only
next
thing
time,
worse than it
so next
is-
time, should I just
is-
fully
is-
crash out?
Just don't let
See-
me
see
get
me-
off that
see
train.
me on the 6 o'clock
Don't let me
news.
get off that train.
But there's a huge spectrum of behaviours in between crashing out and posting about
I actually had
months
this.
later.
I actually had this on the train probably just before Christmas. I don't know if I spoke about this. There was a man on the train, an older man, probably in his 60s, and I heard him on the phone, but I didn't know where this sounds were coming from. I didn't know that the old man existed, but I could hear some like pretty dirty, disgusting things being said on this phone, like sexual, and there were kids on the train, and I'm looking around and like everyone's like smiling, like what the hell's going on? And then I'm hearing, this is not a joke. Yeah, dirty daddy's on the train. What? It was disgusting, like weird.
Okay.
And I crashed out big time. I just got up. I was like, "Who the fuck is that on the phone?"
Yeah.
And then I seen this old man that sat there like, I'm like, "Get the fuck off this train
Yeah.
right now. There's children on here."
To be fair,
But that's the kind of shit that you need to do in that instance.
yeah. Every
You're
time
a
I've
big
actually
man,
done that.
But that's why I don't, because I'm like, I'm big.
But the
But it
thing is,
does-
this
it
is what I said
puts
at the
her on
time,
your
though, right?
foot, right.
is,
You're
you're
big,
big.
you're big, but you're not violent, though. This is the point, right? Imagine, this is what I said afterwards as well. I was like, right, I'm going to get angry, but make the guy move. Imagine if that's like 6 or 7 teenagers that are seeing this kind of thing happen. You could get battered up by these people, right? In a city like London as well, things happen and things go bad. You just need a little bit of like assertiveness, right? That's not going to run. Don't do that. Clean your shit up. Clean your dog shit up, and then leave. I think that's what all it's got to be.
Yeah. And that has happened before too, where like there's some unruly stuff on the tube and I've been like, bro. And then other people, like usually you got to give it to them a little bit. And then if they give it back, then the others on the train.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
one of
Come
you?
to my
Which one of you's
defense.
got my bail money? Which one of you got my bail money?
You don't have to get arrested.
There aren't even police in Shepperton.
You could even be like passive
We leave
and
our
just
doors
hand them the
unlocked in
tissue and be like, here you go. Here you go. For your dog shit. There you go. I knew you were going to clean it up, so just wanted to help. Thanks.
I can't believe I was made the villain. I'm shook. I'm so shook.
Not the way you
What did
thought
Ice
that was
Cube
going to
say?
happen, was it?
Poopity scoop. The man needed a poopity scoop.
Is that really your crash out though thing? Like
People not doing anything.
The people not doing stuff.
It's not my crash out thing, but it is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest, a lot of the stuff I feel like is just kind of, you run the risk of being like just quite self-indulgent about like, you know, your really sort of small problems, which I'm glad like some of these are quite acute issues that people have suffered. And I appreciate those that you both brought up there, despite, you know, me coming down on you like that. But I mean, you mentioned this before, the disruptions. That is just because of the blatant corruption.
Yeah.
the constant roadworks, everything takes ages because someone's just taking money for stuff being shut. So nothing ever gets finished. There's never any planning. Like, I don't get into it. Like Old Street Roundabout.
Oh my God.
So
The collective crash out of the Old Street Roundabout.
This is where it started for me because that is my route. I always pass by Old Street.
So what was that? So that was, I think they were doing that for 15 years because they did that the whole time that I was.
Really?
Yeah.
I moved here in 2014 and it's always been pretty much under some form of construction.
Yeah, so I think 2012 might have been 2012, and it's not even finished now. They're above ground, and everyone's like, they haven't done anything. You go inside the station, and it's still
Same.
The station is the same.
half of it's derelict.
Oh, the thing they put on top of it is like a screen with advertising. So you're like, this took 15 years.
Exactly, because people just like everyone's getting.
Got to follow the money.
Yeah, exactly, and that is unique to London.
Spare a thought for anyone that's ever had to use or had to rely on Hammersmith Bridge, because they've just said that that's going to be another 10 years at least before that's finished. It's mad.
It's not a real country.
No, it isn't.
No,
do you remember when I was at uni in like 2019 and I think I might have sent a message being like, we've just got kicked off the train because it can't run in this temperature. And it was like 31 degrees. It was like, what?
I've also been on a bus where it was supposed to go a farther destination, and halfway there, it just stopped and was like, yeah, I'm not going any farther than this. It just changed its destination.
To take it back to the north, like I don't. And I I work in rugby league less than I used to, but so I'm traveling across the north. I don't know how people put up with that. Like it's just a normal thing like that. I was like, so you're telling me I can't get from Leeds to Manchester just on a normal, just on a working day?
Yep.
Unless it takes 3 hours. Like what are people doing? How do people live like this? How is the economy functioning? And it's not.
And now trains are like 300.
These are the two. Yeah.
Trip.
Oh, my
These are the two main.
30 rail card just ran out. I found a flaw in the system, hence why I'm 34 and it's just run out. But yo, that shit hurts, man. Those trains are expensive.
Hey,
they're really expensive.
you got to free up the info for all of our.
Yeah.
Oh no, they've fixed
Link
it.
it up.
Oh,
I was telling people, but yeah, they fixed it.
Yeah.
Basically, when it said renew, you could just put in a new date of birth, but people didn't think to try that. So I was like Benjamin Button in this bitch. It was brilliant.
You know, I got a friend that lives in Manchester, works in London, and always books first class because the trains are so unreliable that he almost always gets it reimbursed.
Wow.
He's just like, that
can
Manchester
believe
to
it.
Euston train is so unreliable
I can believe
that
it.
I go there like a king. And he's like, the reason you got to do it is because like there'll be 2 trains that have been cancelled before. So this train is real third world at this point. Like you got everybody, the guy with angina next to the woman with like 27 pitneys. Like, it's a bad combination. He's just there in first class being like, yep, it's an hour late. I'm getting my money back.
Bloody hell, man.
But he does that as normal. He does it as normal.
Yeah. Thing's dead, man. It's gone to shit.
It is, and that's why it's ever more important that you look after yourself mentally, protect your peace. How do you look after your spiritual needs, Alana?
Many ways, but if we're just going off the back of my trying to prevent a crash out, I've got amazing noise canceling headphones. I will listen to a meditation.
Hey now.
And I'm not even joking. There's a
Big
I'm all
face
about my
Buddha.
yin, big face Buddha, my peace from within.
That's my
Literally.
mantra now.
Literally, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Before that, Master.
What?
That's uncanny. Sorry, Alana.
Spooky. All right. Honestly, I've always had a spiritual connection since I was genuinely a really, really little kid. Like I always was like, my mom told me that she would freak out because I'd be like a toddler. I was still at the age where I would be in a crib and she would be like coming in the middle of the night, and I'd be up like, well, just like talking, and she'd be like, who are you talking to? I'm like, I'm just talking to God. I'm talking about how I don't want to be here anymore and this place sucks.
You're lucky you weren't born in Jamaica, bro. Oh my God. Or anywhere in Western Africa.
So yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. My spirituality definitely comes from like a sense of needing to reground myself in something like real. So nature is a big one. I do believe in meditation, all kinds of forms, whether it's visualization or just like listening to my breath. I just feel like recentering is like the core of my spiritual practice. But yeah, I had like a lot of exposure to different religions and spiritualities. So I feel like mine is kind of like a mishmash of everything over my life that I felt like would ring true. Because I could never blindly follow a faith, that's like a religion.
Faith really should be, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but some people, I like define faith as believing in something that is unlikely, but just choosing to believe in it. But for me, that never worked, because I was like, if I'm in like crash out mode, I'm like, if I'm like, none of this shit's even real, like I need to cling on to something that like feels actually like scientifically, psychologically true, and then also authentic to myself. So like that's why meditation is easy, because I genuinely feel like that sense of internal peace, I guess. And then nature, like I have to go back every year to the desert, because there's something about sitting in a mountain range that is completely silent and still that just makes me feel like, yeah.
The two are connected though, I think.
There's something to this.
Which is why what you're saying makes so much sense, because it's being grounded and being in nature is just being one, right? Mm-hmm. It's when we were in Sri Lanka, and like I know obviously like you hear and you read and you learn things about different religions growing up, but Buddhism is always one that I've thought, well, that one makes the most sense to me.
100%.
And various temples that we went to, various people that we spoke to, it is just about everything being connected and everything sharing a certain type of energy, and what you put out is what you take back and all those kinds of things. And that just all makes complete sense to me.
And the reason I like things like Buddhism is because I am like a truth seeker. I have to get to the bottom of like, but does that make sense? Like logically, something like Buddhist principles are so like linked to like quantum physics or theoretical physics and things that are like, where I'm like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense. Like energy never like dissipates, it just transmutes, and things that can sound really woo-woo, but actually there's a lot of sort of scientific backing. But also the main core principles of our Buddhism are like acceptance. It's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, and accept, as soon as you can accept something, it like ends the suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a monk hold an umbrella for me when I was in Sri Lanka.
Really?
Yeah, it's that surreal thing. He's walking through the rain with this umbrella. I was like, you should have an umbrella. But he's walking it back because I needed the umbrella, not because he did.
Yeah.
So
wonderful people.
Ponder on that one. I think after adding absolutely nothing to that conversation, I think it was a great photo of it. Well, maybe I'll put it online one of these days. But like to me, it's like you say you're talking. I think you mentioned faith there being a bunch of, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but things that you sort of just believe in.
Yeah.
But you practice faith, right? So to me, like, I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but what I've struggled with in recent years is being able to put my finger on the things which give me energy and which make me whole, which fill me up, because I constantly am like, I'm not a particularly organized person, but as I've got more and more things in my life and like work's taken over and I'm trying to do more stuff on the side, I'll just like give more bits of myself away, and without realizing it, I was just feeling less and less and less, and like my partner's been she's been like quite vocal to me to put my finger on, or being able to say like what is important to me and what's the thing that's gonna like, you know, what's gonna make me happy in a moment, what's gonna, you know, make me feel good, what do I need to do, what do I need to do to create my best self. So I think to me, like, I look at my kind of spirituality is more sort of almost like channeling the best of me. What are the things that I need to do? Who's the person that I need to be in order for me to feel like, actually, you know, I'm feeling really good about myself. That's the way I look at it, as opposed to like, you know,
like feeling like your best self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it, like the last year's put that into quite stark sort of printing like a really sharp picture of that, because as with becoming a dad, it's like, okay, I need to do the work stuff. Okay, I need to be there for my partner. Okay, the most important thing is, you know, being a good dad. But also, I still need to be able to feel good about myself, about in terms of what I'm doing to make myself feel good, and to know that I'm, you know, on top of making sure that I sustain who I am.
I'd argue that's the most important one.
Yeah, but you struggle with that when you get when these new priorities come in. You deprioritize that, and in doing that affects everything else. It makes everything else hard to sustain, because I had
that last year. I remember saying it to Jan at one stage. It was just a particular period where I was like, I realised that over the last X amount of weeks, I've kind of lost myself, because I've just been spreading myself all over these different places to things which are very important. But along that way, I just completely forgot the importance of myself, because you need to be nourished. You need to be at a decent level within yourself to be able to give to the things and to the people that are important. Yeah. And like you say, I think all of us forget that from time to time.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, would you define, like, how would you define spirituality? Is it like if you were like, this is what I think spirituality is it a connection to yourself? Is it, no pressure?
It's tough, because I don't necessarily think I've acquired the language to explain it yet.
Like the inclination is always to draw that through line to the divine.
Yeah.
But that's just not the case for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in the divine. But to me, it is like a practice of it is a connection to my best self.
Yeah.
It is a connection to a feeling that I'm
like the spirit of Dan.
Yeah, feeling the best of myself, and I'm really sort of channeling that every day.
I think to touch on that, that's one of the things that I learnt from Jan, was practicing gratitude. And initially it was very much like, Dom, what are 3 things you're grateful for today? Like that kind of thing, which then kind of permeates into other parts of my life. Like I'll be on a run and like the wind will hit me in a certain way, and I'm like, fuck, I feel so alive right now. And it's just a really, really small thing, but it's like those little moments added up for me make me feel alive. And I don't want to ever just feel like I'm existing. It's the moments that I feel like I'm just existing, where I'm coasting through life. I'm like, this isn't it. It's those tiny little moments. It could be literally a smile I get from my wife, and the feeling that it gives me in that moment, like I said, when I'm on a run, or I could be stretching after a piece of exercise that I've done, and I'm like, I can feel everything. I'm like, this is amazing. This is what being alive is. And all of that is, I think it's actually one of the reasons, we always make jokes about this, but it's one of the reasons why I am fortunate enough, but I like to focus on spending my money on experiences and going places, because I'm like, these are places that I can feel like I can live, because I'm not just trying to go somewhere. I'm not just trying to do something. I'm experiencing, I'm feeling. And that's I guess my version of spirituality. It's just to feel.
Like that feeling of aliveness.
Yeah.
I love that. Jello?
I've been obviously listening in and just thinking about the question. Obviously, I've thought about it before. I think if I was to be my most honest self, I would say that I have very much neglected the spiritual part of myself for a number of years, because spirituality for me has been tied up in institutions that on the kind of front end say they deal in spirituality, and then as you get into them you realize that they are so flawed and spend so much of their energy trying to, in quite nefarious ways, hide and cover their flaws. And so I think that the next sort of period of my life is going to be, how do I extrapolate the positive experiences of spirituality from the negative experiences of everything else that came with those? And I mean, my mum is not particularly spiritual, but my dad at the times when he was in my life was, first of all, Nation of Islam, then converted to Islam. But it's very difficult for me to kind of accept the spirituality of him as an elder when I had to live with, for example, the physicality of him and the way that he would speak and treat people. And my experience in life has been that people that kind of verbally and openly practice spirituality, often using it to hide some real ugliness. And when I hear kind of what you guys are talking about, I go, that's really, really important. And I go, do you know what? I feel like over the last few years, I spent so much of it just trying to physically survive, you know, like, you know, we've talked about it on the pod many times, but I was broke during COVID because I'd spunked all my money on non-refundable round-the-world tickets. In 2020, that was bad move, brother. Like, bad move, brother. And so, and it's that thing of like, so sometimes it was like, do I have enough money to pay rent?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I've got enough money to pay rent. And there would literally be, and I'm not saying this is a sob story because I live, like my train goes to Shepperton, I'm living okay now. Even if a dog does shit on the carriage and I get blamed for it. But
first class carriage, you never said that.
No class carriages on the train to Shepperton, we're all rich. But it's, you know, there would be weeks where it'd be like, I've got maybe £1.50 to make food. And while I'm doing that, I've still got a kind of, I felt like I still had to put out content because I was like, that's leading to work opportunities. Yeah. And the thing is like, I learned that I could survive off £1.50. And what was interesting is kind of the way I do believe that my life is being led. I don't know that I believe in the divine, but I definitely believe in design. That the universe, when I got geeked out when I heard that the universe runs to like an exact mathematical principle, and I saw it and I was like, wow, this just keeps scrolling down. This ain't no 2 + 2. There is a real mathematical principle. But that was a period of my life where I was really into getting healthy. I'd kind of had the sepsis in 2017. Yeah. But 2020 I got so healthy. But I wonder if part of it was like, well, you ain't got no food, so I was, eating rice and beans or noodles. Like that was what I ate every day. Really, really simple. And I would get out on my bike, with that 20 minutes that you were allowed out. And I would turn that 20 minutes into 5 or 6 hours. But in terms of spirituality, very specifically the spirituality, that undefinable, abstract sense of otherness, I have to do a lot of work in kind of going, whether it was Islam or Christianity, the people that trafficked in it were really imperfect messengers for it. And I have had this long time where I've gone, I reject the one because I can't accept the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's really hard when like some institutions, like religious institutions, are so harmful and have like really, really bad, obviously not all of them. Yeah, but I think like a lot of people conflate their feelings about religious institutions with like what is actually spirituality. And I think the answer, I always like the idea that like when I did believe in an after, like a concrete like place for the afterlife, I was like, what if everyone's right? What if the thing that you really, really believe in is the thing that you manifest when your like body goes away? So I really like the idea of like everyone defines spirituality differently.
It should be though, because I think it's similar to faith. I think it's something that you own, and that's one of the issues that I have with organized religion, is that I think just as animals, nature, we're all so different that I don't necessarily think that our thoughts should all be guided in the same way. It's like, as long as, yes, there are certain philosophies and understanding which should be shared amongst the majority, 100%, of course, otherwise society falls apart. But in terms of your faith, there's so much, I think, which you have to guide yourself by, and as a result, let yourself be guided by.
And multiple things can be true at once.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when I was studying, and it was a tiny slither of sort of West African history, and the thing that I happened upon that I was like, that's something that I can see myself believing in, and which I thought was really powerful, was the idea of the collective unconscious. That idea that we are all unconsciously connected. So, and it's on the really basic level, it can be, you know, Dom's feeling bad, and without saying anything, the other people in the room can pick up on it, but on like a sort of global scale. And the reason it was so powerful when I looked at it in some of the West African spiritual practices was because that was one of the ways that they said that their culture was able to survive was through the collective unconscious. When you're cutting tongues out and you're separating people by the places that they're from, and then you're shipping them across the world, it's amazing how much of a culture still survives. And the really random example of it was in LA, you talk about the homies, and then you realize, oh, that comes from Dahomey.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? That's crazy that kind of could survive hundreds of years. But yeah, when it comes to spirituality, I guess I'm quite dark. I hope everybody gets what they deserve in terms of their spirituality, and I think that's comforting to the pure or the purer of heart, and is possibly quite terrifying to those that are consciously neglecting their own kind of
I
thing.
think it is comforting, because I think from a personal standpoint, I oftentimes will go against my gut and my instinct and try and be positives in moments when I don't necessarily want to. I want to crash out way more than I actually am. But within those moments, when something good happens to me, the amount of times where I'm like, yeah, I deserve that shit because of this stuff that I've done previously, and it almost feels self-fulfilling.
Well, yeah, the nourishment is the ongoing affirmation of what you've done. And I think, I started seeing a life coach 2020, and the thing with him was he was always saying, well, ultimately, it was 2022 actually, but his thing was like, it's the who you become in pursuit of the goal is the thing. And it's like that's very much how I sort of view this. Like this whole like spirituality. It's like it's a present state. You can lapse out of it. So life changes happen. people change. Like there can be big traumas and stresses which make you question whether this is actually the case, and other things can bring you back towards it. But like for me, it's very much like if you keep it in the present, in the moment, that's where the reward has to be, you know.
Just as a little side note, because you said about the collective unconscious, there's the collective unconscious and consciousness. But anyway, I literally just watched this today. It's just a little side note for extra research, and then maybe one episode we can, like, if we all watch this video, we can get into it. But there is a speaker, public figure named Darren LeBaron. Have you heard of him? So he's like really into mushrooms and like studying psychedelics and the effect on the brain. And he has this whole, I just watched a video of him talking about how there's all these theories about how like religious ideas sprouted from ancient uses of various psychedelic herbs,
I've heard
mushrooms,
lots of stuff
fungi.
on that.
Yeah, and it was really compelling, actually, what he said. But what was interesting is he was like, there is potentially a connection. It's very The Last of Us also, where it's like how all those mushrooms, like they work on, oh God, I don't know what it's called, but like basically channels where they kind of like speak to each other and they all talk to each other. And how like that might actually impact the human brain, and like the early consumption of that might have like impacted our connection to one another. So check out Darren LeBaron on Instagram.
Yeah, they
and then
say in
maybe we
the
should talk
Bible,
about this
there's
further.
like psychedelics all over it, and like the
Yeah.
Old Testament and shit,
And
like the burning bush and all this kind of shit. Like, yeah, he wasn't tripping.
and the Quran and the Torah as well. Like he the video I watched, he basically was like, let's take the three major religions and I'll show you their connection to each other, and also like evidence of the connection to like mushroom usage and stuff like that. And it was really, really interesting. But I say that to say that also like maybe I need to start factoring in psychedelics into my spiritual awakening.
We are very close to becoming a very different type of podcast.
I was going to say,
So we need to be very careful.
This is not a public announcement. That belongs to Alana alone. Don't check out this Darren guy. I don't know who he is.
Darren McDarren, what was it?
Yeah,
Bobby
Darren.
McFerrin.
Darren LeBaron. But like,
Darren Day.
if people are more interested in
Look, you could start.
discussions on religion and spirituality, I'm just you asked me how I practice
did.
spirituality.
More people need to go back to the
did.
church though, because R&B is dying.
Well,
That's what I will say.
Yes.
I'll say that for now.
Music. Huge spiritual response to some music.
Yeah,
For sure. Even just sound.
absolutely.
Lead us out, my brother.
That was a cleansing. That was a cleansing pod. Really, I feel uplifted. You know?
Do you feel
Enlightened.
like that?
Yeah, a bit enlightened, but you know, it's really, you know, it's brightened up this day.
So what's going to make that feel better? Going out into that cold rain now.
This is annoying because when you were talking about like earthy, I was back on holiday. I was about to get my toes in the sand. No, put your toes away.
Yeah.
This ain't happening. But you know, we'll get our reward.
We will get our reward.
You know, for our coming out in the rain, podding for these people, these good people at home.
Yeah. Agreed.
Catch you next time, guys.
Catch you next time.
Sort of.